Gotta see my cowboy. Okay? So we get caught up into it too. Okay? And this is by design. This is not by accident. This is by design. And he described how, you know, this would be done years later. And this is exactly what has happened.
When radio came along, of course, they used that to the maximum. Sports for the men, soaps basically for the women. And then in came television, as I say, with its alpha state, its hypnotic state. And sure enough, around the 1960s, really, 50s and 60s, it took off. It really, really took off. And men became glued on Saturday nights to the sports shows. A culture industry, which is called by its own the culture industry. The Soviet Union had a department called the culture industry. Their actors and directors were called the cultural leaders, because they would, like a computer, people like computers, all you have to do is keep giving them new updates every so often, and you can change an entire country or a nation or a block of nations who are all getting the same upgrades at the same time along certain paths. Today we call it political correctness. Most people want to belong to their peer group. They want to be the same as everyone else when it comes to opinions. In fact, they judge their own personal sanity by bouncing ideas off their neighbours and friends who will answer back and agree on these same topics in kind. It doesn't matter if the topics or what you're getting are facts or utter nonsense, as long as everyone agrees at the same time. They'll say, well, I'm sane, and your friends will all agree because they've had the same information given to them. If it's on TV and a famous face says something, then it must be true. He doesn't have to show you facts or anything else. You've been brought up with these faces. That's why they keep these guys on television into this.
Do you remember this man?
Cronkite.
Walter Cronkite. All right? Walter Cronkite. All right? But now listen to what he's saying about these people that they put in front of us.
In the 70s and 80s, you've grown up with this father figure who's on television every night at 6 o'clock, in your house, in your room, staring right at you, and he's a father figure. Would he tell you a lie? So you naturally never suspect him. And this same man will lead you through new topics. He'll introduce experts on the topics. They'll have a little summary at the end of every talk, and you are now left with the conclusion that's presented to you. You don't arrive at it, it's given to you, and it's good enough for you. We're programmed today perfectly, just like machines.
Can we declare the whole world?
Now, I want you to see this, because I gotta stop this and let you see this.
World government.
Now, you know that the goal is to create a one world government. All right?
New world order.
A new world order. Right. And we see this taking place right in front of our eyes. Okay? But now I want you to listen. Here's Walter Cronkite. All right?
Is the structure necessary for global justice?
I'm in a position to speak my mind, and by God, I'm going to do it. First, we Americans are going to have to yield up some of our sovereignty. That's going to be, to many, a bitter pill. Today, we must develop federal structures on a global level. To deal with world problems, we need a system of enforceable world law, a democratic federal world government. Most important, we should sign and ratify the Treaty for a Permanent International Criminal Court. Pat Robertson has written in a book a few years ago that we should have a world government, but only when the Messiah arrives. He wrote that any attempt to achieve world order before that time must be the work of the devil. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
Now that's
Okay.
Walter Cronkite.
Alrighty.
Okay. So just like he described how we grow up trusting these figures they show us on television, but we don't know what they're really, really about. Okay? And a lot of these people, they belong to these secret organizations that are trying to undermine God's laws. Okay? But now, let's go back to this because I wanted to show you something that I showed them last time. And this was the 10-point plan by the UN to establish a new world order. Okay?
including
Now, this
Hey,
comes
Bill.
from this woman named Alice Bailey. Okay? And Alice Bailey was an occultist. Okay? That's her teacher to the right. That's with her name is Helena Blavatsky, another well-known occultist. All right, but I want you to listen to the plan that the UN has for a one world government.
Alice A. Bailey, the founder of Lucius Trust, an occult organization that currently has its headquarters within the United Nations.
Now, it's called, their organization is called Lucius Trust now, but back in the day it was called Lucifer's Trust, and it was housed right within the UN. Okay.
The objectives of this organization, Lucius Trust, have been codified and embodied in the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights and in the United Nations Charter. Alice A. Bailey, the founder of the occult organization Lucius Trust, developed 10 strategies to establish a new world order. These strategies are, number 1, push God out of the schools. If the people grow up without reference to God, then they will consider God irrelevant to day-to-day life. In the last 50 years, this has happened. God is irrelevant to most people.
This is what's going on. All right.
Yeah.
Now watch. Let's go to the second one. Okay.
Number 2, break the traditional Judeo-Christian family concept. Break communication between parents and children so that parents can't pass on spiritual values to their children. Do this by pushing excessive child rights.
All right. Are we seeing that?
Mm-hmm.
Now
Absolutely.
you spank your child. They call it DHS on you. And want to take your child. Okay? The way this system runs, your child doesn't belong to you. Basically, you're renting your own child. Basically, because they can take your child for any reason. Okay? So this is some serious game going on. All right? Let's look at the third one.
Number 3,
Oh, but going back to the 2, even in school, I mean, you can't even grab a child's arm or anything. Okay? So these children can disrespect you in any type of way they want. And there's nothing really that you can do about it. And if the parent doesn't have control, then what? Okay?
remove restrictions on sex. Sex is the biggest joy, and Christianity robs people of this. People must be freed to enjoy it without restrictions. It's not just for married, it's for everybody.
All right? Are we seeing this? They're pushing sexual rights on children. Okay? Last time we covered that in Oregon, they have a new law that says that 15-year-olds can get sex change operations without parental consent. What? Okay? See, we're not really seeing what's going on because we're so focused on other things, okay? But these things are going right past us. We don't see what's going on, okay?
Number 4, since sex is the greatest expression of man's enjoyment of life, man must be free to express sex in all its forms. Homosexuality, orgies, even bestiality are desirable so long as no one is being abused or harmed.
Now, all right, let me go back to that. All right. Right? But see, even if you think about it, you look at some of their television shows, all right? On television shows, they have a show like Family Guy, right? And on this show, this cartoon show, they have a dog sleeping with women, right? He's in love with the mother, okay? So they're pushing bestiality, right? But not only on the kids, on us too. Because the more and more that you see these things, it becomes more acceptable. Okay? But now, since they passed the homosexual agenda, now the next agenda that they're going to push is the pedophiles. Pedophilia. They're going to push pedophilia. And you can see it happening in some of their television shows. Especially like this one that they have on now called Game of Thrones. They push a lot of child sex stuff on it, okay? But now also the Psychiatric Association, the APA, now they're saying that pedophilia is a sexual orientation, okay? So they're going to push this, and they're changing the term pedophile now to minor attracted.
Right.
Okay? So what they're doing is, just like they did with homosexuality, it was seen as a mental illness not that long ago, but now they changed the term. They changed it from homosexual to gay, happy. All right? So now they're making that term a little more friendly. All right? So then they're doing the same thing with pedophilia, changing it to minor attracted. Oh, he's just minor attracted. Okay? Watch it. All right? Because these are the two that's coming down the pipeline. Bestiality and pedophilia.
Armed. Number 5. People must be free to abort unwanted children. If a man can have sex and then live without the consequences, then the same should be true for a woman too. A woman must have the right to abort an unwanted child.
And we see this. Look how hard they're fighting for Planned Parenthood. Okay? And Planned Parenthood is a big pusher of abortion. As a matter of fact, the leading cause of death in African Americans is abortion. Okay?
Number 6, every person develops soul bonds. So when a soul bond wears out, a person must be free to divorce. When one starts to grow, one must be free to get together with that person, even if they are married.
Now, think about one of the most popular shows on television now. It's that show, Scandal. Right? So, a lot of people look up to this woman, Olivia Pope or something. All right? As a role model. Okay? But now, what is she in actuality? An adulteress. Right? Right. So, they're pushing, they're making it seem like it's okay to be in an adultery or to commit adultery. So, anything that goes against Allah's laws, they're pushing. Okay? They're pushing it hard.
And they're pushing it at the top, too.
At the top.
At the top, and down together.
Exactly. Exactly.
Number 7, diffuse religious radicalism. Christianity says Jesus is the only way. Diffuse this by A, silencing Christianity, and B, promoting other faiths, the creation of interfaith harmony.
Now, there's a game with this one, okay? Because you got to think about it, too. What they're talking about is bringing all of these Eastern religions in, too. all right? Religions that deal with the occult, okay? The thing is that we know that the message of Islam is one. Isa taught Islam. Musa taught Islam. All of them taught Islam. All the prophets taught Islam, okay? But these people, they played this game where they've broken up our religion into sects. That's why the Quran tells us, don't break up your way of life into what? Sects. But now, as Muslims, we have Shiites, Sunnis, right?
76.
Right. Right. So, are we following the Quran when we ascribe to that and say, "Oh, I'm a Sunni Muslim, I'm a Shiite"? No. Allah tells us Muslim. That's it. Nothing else. All right.
Number 8, use the media to influence mass opinion. Create mass opinion that is receptive to these values by using TV, film, the press, etc. Note well, what Western believers call normal in the African church would be pornography. Number 9, debase art in all its forms, corrupt music, painting, poetry, and every expression of the heart and make it obscene, immoral, and occultic. Debase the arts in every way possible.
And remember, that word occult means hidden. It means hidden. All right? And these are hidden knowledge from the masses. Okay? And the Quran, I'm telling you, the Quran tells us a lot. We just got to go into it. All right? Because it tells us about the occult. When it talks about Harut and Marut, teaching men magic. All right?
This rap music with these kids is so, they know more of that than they know Quran.
Right.
I love music.
Right, but you got to think about it too. Music is so powerful. Just like we talked about the illusions that they spin through Hollywood, music, you can hear a song make you cry. Right?
It's a form
Make-
of entertainment.
Right.
That's
This
Hollywood.
stuff is immoral and filthy, and they know every word, every song of that. And I bet you they can't recite 5 items from the Quran.
Because when you put the education of your children in the hands of your enemy, your
Right.
children become your enemy. Okay? And that's what we're saying.
Exactly.
All right?
And number 10, get the church to endorse every one of these 9 strategies. Get the church to accept these principles and to say they're okay. Then legal ground is given for these values to get a foothold.
Yeah.
Right? So now you see this big push in Christianity to make it okay. Because a lot of churches don't want to lose their 501c. All right? That's what it's about. Because if you speak out against this stuff, they will take your 501c from you. All right?
That's why they want to stay in the Bible and nothing else.
Well, watch this. Here's number 1 right here. Watch this.
You have 5 minutes to speak to us. If you don't want to use that time, you don't, just as much as you want.
Today I was given an assignment in school that questioned my faith and told me that God was not real. Our teacher had started off saying that the assignment had been given problems all day, and we were asked to take a poll to say whether God is fact, opinion, or a myth. And she told anyone who said that a fact or opinion was wrong and that God is only a myth. And she started saying, telling kids that they were completely wrong, and that when kids would argue, she had told them that we would get in trouble, and whenever we asked why we were led to believe that he was true if he is untrue, she told us to ask our pastors. When I tried to argue, she told me to prove it, and I tried to reference things such as the Bible and stories that I've read before from people that have died and went to heaven, but have come back and told their stories. And she told me that both were just things that people were doing to get attention.
Right.
You wanna elaborate on some of that was kind of.
But all right, what I'll do, let me put this on for you, because this was the young girl at the school council meeting. Okay, and she was telling them what happened with an assignment that she was given in school. Okay, in the classroom. All right, but let me put on one of the news feeds on it.
Is God real? If you say yes, you'd fail the test. Students at a middle school in Texas were asked to label God as fact, opinion, or assertion. One of those students labeled God fact, and the teacher gave her a failing grade. Joining us now is at 7th grade from West Memorial Junior High, Jordan Woolley. Jordan, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Jordan, you were asked this question. When you read the question and you answered it, what was your reaction when the teacher came back and didn't like it?
My initial reaction was to be shocked. We were asked to identify the statement "there is a God" as either a fact, an opinion, or a commonplace assertion, which is what she described to us as a myth. And whenever I answered fact or opinion, because in my religious beliefs, it's a fact to me, but I could see from other religions how it could be an opinion. She told me both answers were wrong, and that he was indeed unreal and just a myth.
Okay, so when your teacher said there is no God, what did you say? What did you do?
I tried to reference things such as the Bible, and she told me that it was not accurate because it wasn't written by God himself, and it was written by the disciples.
And Jordan, how did your friends react? How did those who would answer that question the exact way you would, which was quite open-minded, I might add, and strong in your faith, how did your friends react to the teacher's words?
Some of them reacted fine. They felt like it was fine for her to say that, but a lot of my friends were not so happy with the response, and one of my friends, she went home and she started crying. So, I mean...
Sure. Well, I don't blame her. And now here's the thing. You were upset, and we understand.
Sure.
So that night, because this happened on Reading Monday night you went to the school board, and you told them what happened. They have since issued this statement. It says the activity, which was intended to encourage critical thinking skills, was not intended to question or challenge any student's religious beliefs. The activity will no longer be used by the school, and appropriate personnel action will be taken.
Now, what would have happened if this child hadn't said anything? It would have just kept going, right? So, think about in our schools, where our children aren't as vocal, okay? So these messages just get pushed on them, all right? But now I want to show you this. Because my thing is, a lot of us got caught up on Obama because he was black. That was it. Okay? I mean, you got to be honest. All right? We didn't really know his policies. Right. We were just waiting for this black president for so long. He's like, yeah, as soon as he got, we were just happy to vote for him because he was black. All right? But now, I want you to hear about a man named Saul Alinsky. All right? Anybody familiar with Saul Alinsky? Here we go. Let's meet Saul Alinsky. All right? And this is one of the mentors of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Okay?
And one of Gramsci's all-star disciples, Saul Alinsky, became one of the most influential radicals of the 1960s.
Well, Saul Alinsky was a prominent radical in 1930s Chicago. He worked closely with the Communist Party. He used to go down and train at the rifle range with Leon Dupre, who was later a mentor of Barack Obama. And they used to train to shoot because they knew the revolution was just around the corner. But that didn't come, so he got a bit more subtle.
Well, Saul Alinsky called for a community organizer to stir things up, to create agitation. In fact, he said you'll be accused of being an agitator, and that's exactly what you are. He wanted the haves and have-nots fighting with each other.
It wasn't until I was watching an old film from World War II that I realized what the left has been doing in America to pit the poor against the rich, blacks against whites, and the young against the old, is the same tactic Hitler used to disunify Germany.
You see, they knew that they were not strong enough to conquer a unified country. So they split Germany into small groups. They used prejudice as a practical weapon to cripple the nation. Remember that when you hear this kind of talk. Somebody is going to get something out of it, and it isn't going to be you.
And they used the conflict as justification for more government.
So think about all the conflicts we have going on in our country now. Okay? Because that's the way to divide. Okay?
The chaos. So they create the chaos, and then they step in as a solution to the chaos. And as Francis Schaeffer said, once this chaos comes, most people will willingly give over to authoritarianism because they don't want the chaos.
His book was kind of the field manual, if you will, for these activist organizations.
Which President Obama studied and taught at a workshop for 4 years in Chicago. He was a community organizer for Acorn.
As I was reading through Rules for Radicals to see where he was coming from, I just happened to take a look at the dedication in the front of the book. And this is what I saw. Quote, "Lest we forget at least an over-the-shoulder acknowledgement to the very first radical, the first radical known to man who rebelled against the establishment and did it so effectively that he at least won his own kingdom, Lucifer."
Okay? All right. So we have to start learning who these people are. This Saul Alinsky dedicated his book to Lucifer. Okay? Who we call the first rebel.
Unquote. Saul Alinsky from Antonio Gramsci has had an incredible amount of influence on our president and on our society. And he dedicates his book openly to Lucifer, Satan. I think that says more about where their ideas and plans are based than anything else.
And it helps you to really think about it, that this big plan has been going on for so long, and people have died trying to bring this plan into fruition. So, I mean, what are they getting out of it? The thing is that this is not their plan. This is Shaitan's plan. Okay, this is Shaitan's system. Okay, and he manipulates the minds of men and women to follow this. All right. So we have to really begin to get into that Quran and teach our children. Bring them visual evidence. Show them things to make it exciting for them. Okay? Because the thing is that our children are turned into, it's an article that I read, it's called talking about digital natives. Our kids are so on that technology